B'siyata d'shmaya. Yud Aleph Nisan Tavshin Mem Beis. This is a mimer from the Rebbe Shlita. Melech HaMashiach. Maimerim Melukatim Beis. It's right near the beginning of the book, Lamed Zayin. Ki amei tzeitcha me'eretz Mitzrayim re'erenu niflos. Like the days when you left Egypt, I will show you miracles. This is a prophecy from Micha. Just like that God is promising the Jewish people that there's going to be a future redemption, and the future redemption is going to have miracles that are going to be like the miracles when the Jews left Egypt. Now, you have to remember, rabbis, that the going out of Egypt is a very, very basic essence and foundation and fact that Judaism is based on. It's God personally himself, God. God is not an angel. God is not a spirit. God is not a level of consciousness. God creates all the spirits and all the levels and creates everything. God himself is totally above the world. He creates the world, the spiritual worlds. That's what we learned in the last mimer. He creates the worlds of before the tzimtzums and the worlds of Ein Sof. He creates it. And this God cares about the Jewish people, and he took the Jewish people out of Egypt, and he made 10 plagues so there wouldn't be any mistakes that a person would think it was an accident. 10 plagues. And it's written in the Torah, and the Jews have passed this down from generation to generation. The Jews have believed this for 3,331 years as of this class. Amazing story. That God actually took, and it's the same God that exists now, and the same God that's protecting the Jews over here in Israel from all these rockets that the Hamas is shooting, and it's protecting them from all the Knesset members that allow the Hamas to shoot these missiles, and we don't do anything. The same exact God. And this same exact God, there's no other gods. And this God creates the world, like we learned in the last mimer, creates the world every second, and this God gives the Torah. And this God is going to make what we call redemption. And it happened before. The Jews were actually slaves in Egypt. This is the basis of Judaism. We remember it in all of our prayers, remember it when we make Kiddush on the holidays. The Jews were actually in Egypt. Millions and millions of people. There's different opinions about what percentage of the Jews actually left Egypt. But according to all opinions, about 3 million Jews left Egypt at once. All of them left. Among amazing, incredible miracles. And God split the sea for them, and he gave them bread from heaven, water from a rock. He provided for them. He led them with a cloud of glory in the nighttime, fire, and in the daytime protected them with these clouds. This actually happened, says the Rebbe. It's going to happen again. It is going to happen again. But in the future redemption, it's going to be a little bit different. Like I've said a lot of times, back then, 3,331 years ago, God took the Jews out of Egypt. But he did not take the Egypt out of the Jews. The Jews wanted to go back to Egypt. After God let them out, what did they say? Let's go back. Which, I mean, I've talked about this before, which is pretty logical that they would want to go back. I mean, you know, the Egyptians were already decimated. They were destroyed. The army was destroyed. The Jews had all the Egyptian money.
They could have ruled the house.
They could have ruled. They could have. I mean, if it was up to me, I would say, you know, think about it a little bit. Let's go back to Egypt and make them do what they made us do for 200 years, whatever it is, right? That we should write in the Bible. Then people will know not to mess with the Jews. You mess with us, you're going to be our servants. We're going to do to you what you tried to do to us. But God said, no, I don't want leaders. I don't want rulers. I want servants. I want the whole world to serve me. Shalach et ami v'yavduni. Let my people go that they should serve me. I don't want to. So it says, in the future, there's going to be a big miracle. What is it? That God is going to take the Egypt out of the Jews. That's going to be a bigger miracle. What's it going to be? So the Rebbe says, one second, it's not going to be a bigger miracle. It says, like the days when you left Egypt, I'm going to show you miracles. The miracles will be something like when you left Egypt, right? That's what the sentence seems to imply. The miracles in the future are going to be something like leaving Egypt. How is it going to be like that? Doesn't seem such a big deal. God's just going to take the Egypt out of us, maybe. Says the Rebbe, one second, you're going to see this, exactly the opposite. The miracles that are going to be in the future redemption are incomparably greater to the miracles that happened when we left Egypt. To the point where the miracles when we left Egypt are going to, in the future, are going to seem to be part of nature. And that's the subject of this mamar. V'yadua diok the Zohar. It is known what is written in the Zohar. Hova, it's brought in Derushi, it's brought in many of the mamarim, the discourses of the Chabad Rebbes. That what it says, Kiyamei, like the days of our going out of Egypt. Hey, that 1 second. It should have said like the day when we left Egypt. How many days did it take us to leave Egypt? 1 day. Going out of Egypt, that was the whole big thing of going out of Egypt. The Jews left at once. They didn't leave little by little. They snuck out. That would also be a pretty big miracle, right? They found an escape way, and for years, every day, 3 people would get out, 5 people would get out, until 3 million people got out, right? 3 million people got out, 10 people, that would also be a miracle, but that's not how it happened. All the Jews got out of Egypt in 1 day. And there's one of the 6 things we're supposed to remember every day. You're supposed to remember going out of Egypt. It says, Zachoret hayom hazeh. Remember this day, Asher yatzata miMitzrayim, that you left Egypt. Laman tizkor et yom tzeitcha. Remember it in order that you should remember the day that you left Egypt. If so, why did the prophet Micha say, Ki yamei, like the days of leaving Egypt, I will show you miracles? Question number 1. Why does it say the days? Gam, also tzorech lavin, we have to understand, but tochan katuv, let's understand what exactly is the meaning of this sentence, Ki yamei tzeitcha mi'eretz Yisrael, like the days that you left Egypt, I will show you miracles. The perush hapashut bazeh, the simple meaning is, sha'geula atida, that the future redemption, lavo, the future geula atida lavo, this future redemption which is going to come, mehei Rabbi Yaminu, soon, now in our days, really by means of Mashiach Tzidkenu, will be be'ofen, in the way of er'enu niflaot, I will show you miracles kamo, like shayata geula diz Mitzrayim, something like it was back then. And the future redemption will be something like it was back then. You believe this is going to happen, Zechariah? There's going to be God is going to take us out of the situation we're in, whatever that is. I mean, it's not that bad. It's pretty bad, but it's not that bad. Nowhere near as bad as it was when in Egypt. In Egypt, it was really terrible. But it says, no, we are now in a situation in a way that's worse than Egypt, and God is going to take us out, and it's going to be something like He took us out of Egypt. Says the Rebbe, Eino moving. Hari mavur b'kama v'kama pasukim. It's explained in many sentences and many sayings of the rabbis, shedavka agula tida, that the future redemption that's going to be by Mashiach today, tehei geula shlema, will be a complete redemption, she'ein acharei hagalus, that there's no exile after it. Masha'inkin, which is not the case, the redemption from going out of Egypt. The going out of Egypt, we see it happened 3,331 years ago, and we're still, right? You know what happened since then? I mean, there were all the expulsions and the inquisitions and the Holocaust and the pogroms, and terrible things happened. Hari, and the future redemption, there's not going to be any more problems. Hari she'agula atida, the future redemption will be nailit harbeh, much higher mi'agula diyatzis Mitzrayim, than going out of Egypt. Lochin, therefore, lafiyah de'achat, according to one opinion, ein mazkirim yetziat Mitzrayim li'amot Mashiach. We will not mention going out of Egypt in the days of the Mashiach. When the Mashiach comes, we'll totally forget about going out of Egypt. It'll be like peanuts, like nothing. V'gam ladeya shemazkirim yetziat Mitzrayim, and even according to the other opinion that says that, that we do mention going out of Egypt, we do mention going out of Egypt in the days of the Mashiach, we will still remember it. We will still remember it. Tzorich al zeh limud miuchad. There has to be a special learning, right? Liyamim, it's in the Agada of Pesach. It's Agada of Pesach. Tizkor as Yom, one some says the daytime, and also in the nighttime. We remember in the nighttime. Tizcham Yom, Tizcham Eretz Yisrael. Sometimes that we mention now, and sometimes we mention it also in the days of the Mashiach. You have to have a special learning. What does it say? That when you go out of Egypt, just like going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. What does it mean? I will show you miracles like back then. Back then is higher. It's not so. The highness of the future redemption. Then I'm going to show you miracles like it wasn't going out of Egypt. What do you mean? The future redemption, according to most opinions, is infinitely greater than the redemption when we left Egypt. And so why did Micha say Kiyameh, like the days? It'll be something like that. Right? Not the same thing. It's like they say Yom Kippurim is Kippurim. It says in the Zohar that Yom Kippur is something like Purim, but Purim is much higher. Yom Kippurim is just something like it. And it explains why Yom Kippur is, because Yom Kippur is by means of fasting, and Purim is by means of happiness. But Purim is much higher than Yom, because Yom Kippur is just like Purim. The same thing is the future redemption will be like the redemption of Egypt. The redemption of Egypt was much higher. Says the Rebbe, but it's not so. The redemption going out of Egypt was not much higher. In fact, it'll be much, much lower, much to the point where some people say it's insignificant. In the future redemption, nobody will even remember it. Even more than this. That what it says, like the days of you left Egypt, I will show you miracles. It seems to imply the miracles that were when we left Egypt, they were the beginning. In other words, what I'm going to do now is like what it was back then. Back then, that was the vanguard. That was the first time it was done. And that was the beginning. The shorish, and it was the root, the source of all the miracles that will be in the future. If so, one second, we explained that the future redemption is going to be infinitely greater, incomparably, whatever that means, to the redemption of when we left Egypt. But it seems that if it's infinitely greater, then why did Micha say that the future redemption will be comparable to going out of Egypt? It seems that the going out of Egypt, that was the real beginning. That was the whole thing. And everything else will just be like a copy, right?
Yeah, because everybody will see it.
We'll see. I don't know. It's like they say, he's strong like Samson. Samson was the strongest, but he's like Samson.
It was like Jethro said, I heard everything about what happened. This time everybody will say, I saw everything.
Okay, we're gonna see from this mind. Let's just finish these lessons. The Mizeh Muvan, Sheyesh Mila, there's something high about the future redemption, the Yitzit of going out of Egypt, more than the future redemption. Okay, let's just make a small summary. What did the Rebbe say over here? First of all, one question: Why did Micha say like the days you left Egypt, I will show you miracles? He should have said like the day. So they left only one day of Egypt. Secondly, it seems from what Micha is saying that the future redemption won't be as high or as great as going out of Egypt. It'll just be something like it. And we see that from the Zohar and from a lot of other places, many, many places, not even from Zohar, just from the regular revealed Torah, that the future redemption will be infinitely greater than the going out of Egypt, to the point where some people say we won't even remember the going out of Egypt when in the future redemption. It'll be so insignificant. On the other hand, it seems that was the beginning. So what's the point? So what the Rebbe wants to do is what basically all Maimurim of Chassidus want to do, and we'll continue this. He wants to show us that there's another way of looking at things in the world. Usually we look at things in a way of what we get. Right? Something we can get, something we can appreciate. Let's say, for instance, most of the religions in the world are based on going to heaven. What you're going to get. In this world, maybe you suffer a little bit, but you're going to go to heaven in the end, which is true. There is such a thing as heaven, and God does reward people according to what they do. But maybe there's something much higher, namely what we can give to God. The genuineness of our love of God. How many levels of love are there for God? Right? Some people say, I don't even know what you're talking about. There's no such. It's you love God. You do what He says. That's loving God. No, love is an emotion. When you start loving God, you see the emotions have no end. Appreciation of God. You love God because He creates me. You love God because He creates Atzilus. You love God. It becomes more and more deep and more real to the point where there's not just two things, God and the world. Suddenly you start to realize that there's levels of appreciation and service and faith and fear and love of God that are infinite. Without changing anything what you do. It could be doing all the Torah and all the mitzvahs, but you still remain on this same level. You're not really doing it for God, you're doing it for yourself. You start doing things for God, all of a sudden a whole new world opens up. That you're not caring about what I get, you're not caring about going to heaven, you're not caring about hell. You don't care about that. All you care about is one thing. I want to do what God wants. Right? That's the thing of Abraham. That's why we start off the prayers with the story of Abraham and the Akedah. Now you're about to pray to God, give yourself over to God. What God wants. That's what's really called going out of Egypt. When you stop thinking about yourself and when you have what to think about God. Nowadays we think about ourselves because we feel that we're real. And we are real. But we're infinitely unreal compared to God. So what's the big thing about going out of Egypt? God let us out physically. We received freedom. The future redemption is that we're not even going to think about those terms of what I get. The future redemption is how can I serve God better? How can I be more genuine, more honest, more truthful, more connected, more sensitive? How can I feel what I'm being created for? Fulfill the purpose that I'm being created for. That's really going out of Egypt. That's really going out of Egypt. And we'll talk about that more, God willing, tomorrow.